What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter, where we cover some interesting franchise opportunities with you guys. Today, we have a few things that we have to share. Number one is a resale with a proven brand for $400,000. Number two, back to business. John's return to ownership in Louisiana, and is investing in a hotel smart. We're going to talk about DoubleTree Hotel, which the numbers are very interesting to me, when particularly the startup cost. And we'll talk about some other stuff in terms of some content that we put out recently, how to easily buy a franchise, so on and so forth. And before we do that, I got something real quick to show you that we have to cover. All right. If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with our head of brokerage, Mr. Mark Magerman. Mark, how you doing, sir?
Good, Tarek. How are you?
I'm doing lovely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. You got any special plans?
I was just going to say, it's always my favorite of the holidays because it just seems like there's less obligations and it's just about being around the family and loved ones and having just a great day. And I'm a big fan of the hit and run, right? It's a day and then it's over. Everyone comes, everyone goes. So it's nice. But no, it's always the best time of year for me. So I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you have a really nice Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're looking forward to it too. And we'll be going down to Palm Beach to spend with some of Bridget's family and her dad. And nice. It's actually warm here in Orlando right now. It's 80 degrees, and it's, I think, going to be a little bit warmer in Palm Beach.
Well, we're hosting it at our house up in the Massachusetts area. I can promise you it won't be 80 degrees on Thanksgiving Day. We just hope there's not enough snow on the ground so we could actually go outside and take a walk or something. But it'll be in the 30s. We'll have to dress for the weather.
That's funny. Guys, in the comments, we're going to start breaking this down. In the comments, what I did was, and we'll start doing this, I shared the link to the actual article on our website. So if you want to go read it, you can at your leisure. Also, we send this out every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And so to make sure that you get those emails, you'll see scrolling on the screen, franchiseempire.com/newsletter. You'll get it in your inbox. And of course, it's free and full of value. All right, let's talk about this resale first. Mark, you know what? I'm gonna pass the baton to you because you're now the one selecting this resale. So why don't you tell us some of the details, and then we can kind of flip the order a bit.
Yeah, I guess I'll start by saying that if you've been on these calls before with Tarek and I, or if you've just gone through the brokerage process in general, resales are kind of tricky, right? They're not always available. So when you find one that might be available, it's a really good opportunity to jump on. If you live in the Northeast North Carolina area, this is a really excellent resale. So we kind of hope we hear from you if it's as interesting. This is obviously the specific location and the specific brand needs to stay confidential. That's a relationship we have with the franchisor. If you make progress and you get to the point where we get to introduce you, then obviously all that information will be disclosed. This is in the pet service category, which I tell our candidates that for whatever reason, people are ridiculous about their pets. They spend money on pets more than you spend on your children or your parents, for the love of God. I don't quite get it. I've been a dog owner my whole life, and I treat my pets like pets, but I'm in the minority. So this is an excellent pet service business that's set up for rapid growth. The asking price is $400,000. The prior year's gross sales are $230,000. They were presented to us that way. Again, if you've been on this call before, we kind of sometimes like to talk about trailing 12 months. We think that's a more accurate version of sales. But in this case, it's $230,000 sale price. Asking price is $400,000. Obviously, it's an amount of money that you could certainly, if you were approved, fund a good chunk of that through the SBA. What do we think? Some of our bullet point takeaways on this. This franchisor is part of an established brand with proven systems, a long track record of franchisee success, which is excellent for anybody coming into this network, because there's plenty of people that you can validate with. And obviously, keep in mind, if you do forge ahead with a franchise resale, ultimately you'll be asked to become a franchisee and be able to join that network as well. It's a recession-resistant business, and to that I'll say this: it may or may not be, but pet owners are ridiculous, as I said, and they are buying and treating their pets to these luxury services, whether whether the economy dictates it or not. So, relatively recession resistant, and it's the opportunity to further grow this territory and scale by acquiring neighboring franchisees. So we talk a lot, whether it's one-on-one with our candidates or when we have these opportunities to talk to groups of people. Sometimes the best way to get in and really scale and grow a business is to become a franchisee through purchasing a territory and then branching out once you're inside that territory. So inside that brand. So a lot of really great opportunities for this brand. I would also say, if you are not a pet lover, you might want to pass on this one, because you're going to be spending the next 10 years or so with pets all day. So you got to make sure you like pets, and that's something that you're interested in. But if you have a passion for pets or a pet lover, then we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, nice. When to your point around the buying a particular resale or getting involved in a franchise brand and then having the opportunity to grow and scale by buying neighboring franchisees. One of my buddies who owns, I think now at this point, him and his business partner have 11 or 12 budget blind territories. They started out with one unit, one territory, and gradually kept buying up more and more through acquisition from franchisees that were selling. And then they just started to become known in their area, in the system, where if a franchisee wanted to sell, they were coming to Adam and his business partner, first. And that's how they've scaled, which is, yeah, it's an interesting strategy. And I don't think sometimes people realize, like, let me get involved in the brand, and then I can acquire. Actually, so bittersweet news: our air conditioning unit stopped blowing cold air. Fortunately, it wasn't blowing hot air, but it's been warm the last couple of weeks. So upstairs was getting to 77, 78 degrees. Kids sleep upstairs. And so turns out the evaporator coil had leaked all the refrigerant and needed to be replaced. Well, evaporator coil is basically like, between labor and parts, it's like basically like a $3,000 repair. And so our unit's 10 years old. So at that point, it's like, well, are you going to put $3,000 into a 10-year-old unit? Well, probably about time to buy a new unit. So we get all sorts of quotes and stuff. And I remember, actually, Mark, I can attribute this to you, which is you saying that I always try to support my local franchisee when I'm doing business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, well, what are some of the brands that, we've covered or worked with or whatever? So I thought 1 Hour Heating and Air was one of them. And then I thought AirServe. And so turns out the franchisee comes out from AirServe. He just bought it 6 months ago, new territory.
Nice.
And really hit it off. I liked him. Great guy. I wanted to support him. He wasn't necessarily the cheapest. Definitely was like the most thorough. And so we went with him and had a few conversations. And he was saying, yeah, there's some neighboring franchisees, and I'd like to buy, and my goal is to buy them. And one of them was the franchisee is operating as a Chuck in the Truck model, and the guy's not very happy. Rightfully so, because the franchise is not meant to be run under that model where you're the one doing the work and everything, and you're not.
Yeah, he bought a job and not a business, right? That's the big difference there.
Huge difference. So, anyways, that was a meandering of to your point of, hey, if you like a franchise brand and you want to grow through resales or acquisition, sometimes the best way to do that is to just get involved in the brand any way that you
yeah, and I know we want to move past it, but it brings up a point that I wanted to make again. And because again, when we were franchise owners, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We learned as we went, and when we were selling our business, we just figured hire a company, a merger and acquisition company. We had a substantial business, and that's who you hire, and they go find buyers for you. Well, we learned obviously that if you go and sell it to an existing franchisee, that's an easier path. So we learned, we sold our business to an existing franchisee. So that's the A part, but the B part is, and I think we talked to so many candidates, Tarek, a lot of them are interested in resales. What a lot of people don't understand is you have to look at a resale from the point of view of the selling franchise owner, right? The franchise owner is selling their business. It's going to make a lot more sense to that selling franchise owner to sell it to an existing franchisee who gets it, who knows the system, than somebody that they don't know.
And is approved.
And approved, right? So again, so when we tell people that, acquiring your first resale is kind of tricky, it is because you have no credibility to the franchise world that you're trying to enter, right? So that's why we always springboard, Tarek, right? With, if you want to get in, buy yourself a new territory, invest in that, build it up. Then you're in the family, so to speak, and it becomes much easier. And I just think so many people don't take a minute to realize, if you have a business that you've worked really hard for 10 years and you've brought it and you've established it to a very successful, profitable business, you do have concern as to who you're selling it to. And it just makes it's one of the beautiful things about franchising is you have a family of people. You'd rather sell it to your family than to a stranger. I just wanted to make that case. It's not really relevant to this specific resale, but in general, it kind of is.
Yeah, 100%. Cool, guys. Well, as Mark said, if you're interested in this specific resale, which is in North Carolina, or if you just want to know if there are some resales available in your area or market, you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales. And if you're qualified, you can set up a free meeting with our team and we can check for you. Moving on from that, we will, let's see, scroll this. We always like to celebrate a new franchise owner that we've helped through Franchise Empire. Our mission is to help individuals own money-making franchises. So we love to share the journey when that happens. And so, Mark, you want to, he worked with you. You want to tell us about John?
He did. Yeah, John was a really interesting guy because when we first met John, it was like pulling teeth to get him to say even his name. He was just a very shy, introverted guy. And we talked about how that might not play out with some of these local, some of the franchisors. And it's just kind of his natural state. But what was amazing is once we started going through the process, we saw this is his true personality. So he's been in the gas and oil business in a management role for many, many years. Started feeling the pull to return when he really wanted to own a business. He'd owned it when he was younger. That wasn't a franchise, and just, went into corporate America like everybody else does. He needed that paycheck, but he really missed it. He was just getting tired of the grind, which is just such a model that so many of the people that we deal with end up having to deal with. So he came through our system. He and I spoke. He was very cautious, like I said, very quiet, very introverted, didn't want to give information, felt every time I asked him a question, I was going to use that information against him. Just very kind of a paranoid guy or an introverted guy, but that's who he was. He wasn't sure if he was ready to leave his full-time job yet as well. That was another factor. But he was cognizant of the fact that if he found the right brand, he would need to make that decision most likely and springboard in. But he also felt that he'd have a lot more confidence to do it at that point. You ask somebody today, you're going to quit your job to start a business. They say no. They find a real amazing business. The next thing you know, it might be yes. So we looked into a bunch of options for him after going through a couple of different meetings. And we then started digging into service-based brands that he felt was more compelling because of the home-based nature, and he didn't have to build a brick and mortar space. He was more comfortable with that. And we looked at a variety of different home service options. The one that stood out, which I was completely shocked that it resonated with him, was a swimming pool franchise, not a construction swimming pool. These swimming pool franchises are mostly cleaning, maintenance, service basis. He loved the recurring aspect of the business. If you do a good job cleaning someone's pool, they're not firing you, they're bringing you back the following week. So he liked that model. It gave him structure, support, scalability, and the confidence to jump into it. So he bought one territory. Kind of goes back to what you and I were talking about. There was one territory available for him, Tarek. So he's investing in that. I wouldn't be surprised if after a period of time, he's going to be looking at growing, and he's going to have the wherewithal to do that. So he signed, I think it was at the end of October, and he's getting his financing in order, and he's getting ready to go to training. And we wish him nothing but success with his new business.
That's awesome. What a great story. Well, congratulations, John, and excited for you. Ready to rock and roll. All right, franchise of the week, DoubleTree by Hilton. So these are interesting, guys. We've done some breakdowns recently on these hotels. You'll be, I think, shocked by the startup cost. Maybe not, but DoubleTree. Maybe you didn't even know that DoubleTree is a franchise. I think that there are some of these hotels where I didn't realize that they were franchises, and so maybe that you'll find that interesting. But they started back in 1969. They opened in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the founders weren't trying to build a global brand. They just simply wanted to create an upscale property known for comfort and service. And the name, the story behind the name is the original building had two tall trees out front, so they called it DoubleTree. It's just funny how some names to companies get started, and if you say it over and over again, it becomes normal and comfortable. But probably in the beginning, it's like DoubleTree, like that's what you name the hotel.
It's really funny, actually.
Right?
I didn't know that either. I had no idea.
Watch, it's going to show up in one of our all team trivias soon.
I was just thinking
you and I are going to know the answer.
Yeah, we will.
In 1986, they introduced what would become one of the most recognized traditions in the hotel world, which is greeting guests with a warm chocolate chip cookie at check-in. And that small gesture led to them globally giving out over 30 million cookies every year, which is pretty interesting. I don't know that I've ever stayed at a DoubleTree, actually. Have you, Mark? Do you know?
I think I've stayed at a DoubleTree. I just don't remember getting the cookie, though. But I think I have stayed in a DoubleTree. Maybe I caught the tail end of the batch. Maybe it was in the oven.
Someone stole one of your cookies. The Cookie Monster must have been.
They could still owe me a cookie. That's quite possible.
So in 1999, DoubleTree joined the Hilton family through the acquisition of Promise Hotel Corporation. And today they have grown over 700 hotels, 158,000 rooms, and are in 60 countries, which is quite impressive. So you can see those numbers here. The total investment, you guys ready? $30 million to $105 million for the 250 room for just the suites. For the suites, $32 million, $122 million. So clearly, guys, this isn't. I mean, it's an interesting franchise to talk about and look at the numbers and say, "Holy crap!" That it takes 30 or 50 or $75 million to get one of these bad boys open. These are typically large investment groups coming together, or people that are very wealthy coming together to buy this, or maybe private equity companies, or it's not the average individual like you and I coming together with this sort of money to open up this sort of franchise. Franchise fees $85,000 plus $400 per guest room over 250. Royalties 5%. Marketing fee is 4%. Mark, what are your thoughts on some of those numbers?
Pretty much what you said. I think the 90% of the people who invest in this business are larger companies, And none of them are using their own money, by the way. They're leveraging everything. So they most likely have other big portfolios of other businesses to fold. It's not the kind of thing where you wake up one day and say, boy, I really want to own one of these. I'm going to see if I can, call a few of my buddies and raise some money and buy one. It's just not that kind of a model. And I also would bet that the owners are not running these businesses, right? Because they're not they're not in the restaurant cleaning rooms and taking reservations. So pretty much not necessarily in the sweet spot for a majority of the people that we speak to on a regular basis.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, if you guys, obviously this is probably a little bit out of range, interesting to read about and learn about. If you're thinking, yeah, I'd love to know about franchises that are more like maybe a few $100,000 to get into, knowing that most people fund franchises with an SBA loan and typically are putting 20% down. So if the startup costs are $300,000, you're typically putting somewhere around, $60,000 to $100,000 down. Then, and you want to know what's available in your specific area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. You'll get connected with either Mark or someone on our brokerage team and be able to dig deeper into your skill sets, your goals, your what you're looking to create, and then see what's available in your area specifically.
Yeah, I'll add one piece to that as well. I actually had an opportunity this past weekend. I ran into one of my fellow ex Five Guys franchise owners and we become friends, and we kind of drifted away a little since we're no longer in the brand, but he stayed a little longer than I did. And he was telling me about one of the current franchise owners who just recently built a new Five Guys. And he told me what the cost was to build it. And it was about 70% more than what we paid all these years ago. So that was the A. And B, we're doing some home renovation work, my wife and I, and we're getting some bids, and the bids are just higher than I ever remember. And I was talking to some people, and what they were saying is because of the economy, a lot of junior contractors or lack of experienced contractors are just getting out of the business, leaving only the top performers left, and they're charging a lot higher money. It just costs more. Why am I bringing this up? Because again, to your point, if you have $300,000, if that's your sweet spot for investing in a business, you don't even have to consider building brick and mortar stuff anymore. You don't have to deal with the cost of the contractors. There are so many really excellent businesses that you can run from your home and get started. So that's really the sweet spot. And when he told me this, I'm like, none, definitely. I'm going to use that information with my candidates because I think it's costing more now. It costs us $1 million to build a Five Guys. And he told me it's 60% more. So do the math, right? So $1.5 million if you're going to build it, which is really just going to crimp your margins going forward. And it's going to put the whole business model in a little bit of a crunch. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I was hoping for an opportunity to share that here on the call, and I took the opportunity to do that.
Nice. Yeah, retail it's expensive, guys. So all right, cool. Well, we'll keep rocking and rolling. Let's see. We got one question, and then we're gonna move to wrap this up a little bit early today. All right. Well, two questions, both by Quan. Do you think Popeyes is a great franchise to invest in? I don't know about. I don't think any food franchise is necessarily a great franchise to invest in if that's the purpose. I mean, really. To have something like a Popeyes, you're going to need probably like 10, 15, or 20 of them. I have done content, and I know we've done a breakdown of how much they make and how much they cost to get open. So you can watch that and kind of just understand the numbers and decide for yourself, rather than base it your answer on my opinion. And then what is the best way to seek an equity investor? My opinion is friends and family. Mark, what's your opinion on that?
Yes, friends and family. And if you do get involved with a franchise, in some cases, the franchisor might have names of people who are also looking to become franchises, looking for partners. So sometimes that's another way to do it. But there's no roadmap to finding an equity partner. There just isn't.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool, guys. Last but not least, look at Mark. Look at that. Look at
what
that
a
guy.
horrible picture that is.
How to easily buy a franchise step by step. So you can check this out on our Franchise Empire YouTube channel if you want to watch that video. Anyone can Google a franchise. What you don't get from a search is real strategy, emotional support, and industry respect. Also, just not knowing how to go through the whole process, due diligence, etc. So you can watch this video on the Franchise Empire YouTube page of us breaking that down. It's also available on any podcast platform via audio. And then we break down KFC. Oh, I love that thumbnail. Shout out to the marketing team and our thumbnail.
Nice.
Creator.
That's a good. That's you got. They give. You know what? You're the CEO. They give you good photos. They give me really lousy ones. I don't know. I got an issue with some of these. I got to go talk to some of the guys there who make the photos. I
think you got some sway, Mark.
I guess I do. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see if the same picture's up here next week. We'll know I don't.
So yeah, we break down KFC's costs, sales. If you ever wondered how much does it cost to open a KFC, how much do KFC locations make, what do they charge in terms of fees? Well, you will get your answers, your questions answered in that video. I break it down. Again, you can watch it on the Franchise Empire YouTube channel, or you can listen to it on any of your favorite podcast platforms. But with that said, we're going to rock and roll today. Mark, I know I'll see you tomorrow morning, but have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving to everyone. Drive safe, travel safe. Any last words, Mark, before we wrap?
No, have a great holiday. Stay safe. And when you're done with your holiday and you're digesting, you're figuring out what your 2026 plans are, and they include franchising, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. All right, guys, have a good one. Take care. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Bye-bye.